And it's Fantasy Author's Handbook again. I'm Phil, as usual. And you know what? It occurred to me that a big part of this channel has already been and will continue to be Booktube. Yeah. And I never did the, Booktube Newbie Tag. I've seen other people do this and it sounds like fun, so why not? I'm doing this totally off the cuff. I pulled up the questions that everybody answers. So if I'm looking down at my screen like this, that's what I'm doing. I'm reading the questions, but not the answers. I'm making all that stuff up as I go along because that's what we do. We make stuff up as we go along. Anyway, question number 1. Let's just dive in. I'm diving in. That was me diving in. Why did you start this channel? I don't know, right? I actually just sort of, so I'm old and I kind of miss the whole like YouTube thing. To me, little glimpses of it that I got seemed to be mostly like people on drugs playing video games, which is like I'm kind of out of that target demographic. But of course, totally missing that there's obviously way more than that. Well, also every once in a while hopping onto a YouTube video about different subjects where I'm like, ooh, that's really interesting, whatever. And then finally I just sort of out of nowhere just discovered Booktube and was like, where the hell have I been? Like, where the hell have I been? So that was really it. Why did I start this channel? Because I should have started it like 15 years ago. Hopefully that's a good enough answer. Now I can't read because of where my thing is. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? I am fun and unique. This is it. I mean, I bring myself, and that's all the fun and unique that most humans can handle. So yeah, I'm going to talk about books, mostly sci-fi, fantasy, horror books, fiction in general, but also other books. Definitely books about writing, which I'm reading, all the time and learning all the time. So what can I bring to this? I think the balance here is, because this channel is really primarily about writing fantasy and science fiction. It's called Fantasy Author's Handbook and not, Fantasy Reader's Handbook, but all are welcome for sure. That's I think the fun and unique thing that I'm going to bring to this, right, is the years and years of experience as an editor, as an author, working with authors, going through the whole writing, publishing process myself, working for a publisher, working with other publishers, etc. And so when I talk about books, you'll probably have found out, especially if you saw the January 2024 wrap-up video, which I'm going to try to do every month now. It was, these are the books that I bought, these are the books that I read, and then sort of stuck in there, sort of folded within, is advice for authors, talking about writing, talking about the writing process and stuff like that. So I think that's fun. I think it's fun to talk about writing and to write. So if that's fun and unique in terms of Booktube, then I think I'm going to definitely bring that. Because it's not just going to be like, oh, I read this current bestseller and I hated it or I loved it, and it's just kind of a review, which, okay, that's fine. But probably if it's a current bestseller, I probably will get to it sometime after 2030-ish. Or if ever, let's be honest. So I'm not the guy you come to find out like exactly what I think about the new Colleen Hoover book. Don't know. So that's the fun and unique thing that I'm going to bring. Me talking about writing. What are you most excited for about the new channel? Just say, a different way to connect with people, right? And this isn't all, and it should never be all, about, hey, buy my book, hey, hire me to edit your book, whatever, right? But just to sort of widen my universe and not be as entirely super isolated as guy who's been working from home for coming up on 14 years can get to be. And through COVID, that even though I had always been working from home, so it wasn't new to be here, it was new to kind of have everybody else here. And then also everybody else kind of out there in different ways as well. And then it's just been weird since then. And I had it kind of went into a little bit of an isolated period, which is me. That's on me. That's not about COVID or whatever. And so that's really what I'm excited about, is just saying like, hey, Booktube, hey, YouTube, hey, authors on YouTube, hey, readers on YouTube, here I am. Hi, what's up? Yeah. I'm blowing through these questions, which is great because I got to stop making 2-hour videos. I just like, I can't, they can't all be features. I got to start making more videos, so it means shorter videos. And the next question is, why do you love reading? I have no idea. Although maybe I do. I said that and immediately I knew exactly why I love reading. Because it's something I can do completely by myself. I don't know if it was childhood, whatever. I do know it was childhood, whatever. Everybody has some childhood, whatever. But, I could disappear into a book and was not having to have friends in order to do that, right? I wouldn't have to get a group together in order to do that. And, even though most of my, definitely all of my high school years and everything were playing D&D with a group of friends, obviously in the pre-internet era. So I could get groups of people together to play D&D, play Traveler, Gamma World, and so on. And always had a group of friends. There were a lot of times I want to just kind of go like, all right, shut up, everybody. Shut up, world. Let me just get some reading done. And just be in that universe for whatever it is. 20 minutes, here or there, a half an hour here or there, as long as I can, whenever I can. Next question. What book or series got you into reading? God, I'm not really sure, to be honest. I mean, I can tell you the books or the story. It was really a short, well, maybe not even, right? The short story that made me go from writing stories is fun, right, as a kid, to holy shit, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, come hell or high water. That story was I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison. Talked about Harlan Ellison here before on Book Haul video in particular. That story for a very young Phil, probably, technically probably younger than that story was aimed at, right? It blew my mind. That's the only way of saying it. I know that sounds really super cliche because it's really super cliche, but that was where something just clicked. It clicked in my head that, oh no, wait, right? How do I get that? How do I do that? But in terms of, what got me into reading, just as soon as I was able to read, right away I just took to it. I learned to read, and this is maybe I'll leave this for the later question of when did I start reading, but anyway, what got me into reading? The books themselves. And of course, my already, it seemed pre-packaged from birth, science fiction, fantasy fan brain. Next one. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? Well, I don't know. Because my favorite booktubers, I'll throw a comment on there if there's a question that I have to ask, right? So I'm not sure what I would ask. I mean, some of my favorite booktubers, people that I watch, right, are like Outlaw Bookseller. I think we shared, not all for sure, but some of the same kind of generational stuff, even though we're separated by an ocean and the entire North American continent, really. I love Jules Burt because I'm also a collector, but he takes that to the mega last, archivist level. And, Book Pilled is fun. I disagree with him a lot, but that's cool. That's part of the fun of it. So what would I ask them? I don't know, right? If something they say in one of their videos sparks a question, look in the comments. You might see me hanging out there, right? I'll show up as Fantasy Author's Handbook. Next one. I'm going through these so fast. This is great. I'm going to have like a nice tight little video. So excited. What challenge do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Ooh, time. Time and tide waits for no man. And yeah, I work from home, and so there's a lot of stuff that I don't have to deal with. I don't have to go to the mandatory training meeting in whatever conference room. I don't have to sit in meetings just like trying to stay awake, because this could have been in a 3 sentence email and been figured out in literally seconds, but we're here for an hour. Whew, right? So that's the great thing about being the self-employed guy working from home. But the self-employed guy working from home still needs to work and still needs to make a living. So, this is a hard one. Obviously, my channel is very small. I don't expect that this will ever become, like this. I make a living by making YouTube videos. I just don't see that ever happening. That's not what I'm going for. That's not why I started this. And I'm certainly nowhere near that yet. So that's what the challenge is mostly for me, is going to be time. And that's why you've seen videos from me that are all of a sudden there, and then there's like a kind of a little cluster of them. And then there's just like a couple of weeks where nothing, and I know that that's probably bad, that I should be like I do with my blog, right? The printed blog, Fantasy Author's Handbook, or printed blog, but the online blog. Every single Tuesday religiously. But that tends to take less time because, these videos, even though I'm keeping it super simple, here I am, right? There's no special effects going on. They take a long time in the end to edit, and then I want to do the research necessary to make sure that there's stuff on the bottom saying, adding information, correcting myself when I accidentally say the wrong thing, and so on. So it takes time. So the biggest challenge for me, for sure, time. I'm always juggling multiple projects for multiple clients, and, not being independently wealthy or otherwise retired, the paid hours really do have to come first. So that's going to be hard, but I'm getting there. There's more time in the day. I'll just watch less TV, he says every January 1st. Anyway, next one. When did you start reading? God, see, I started to go there. I started reading in first grade along with everybody else. Nobody at home thought, hey, Phil seems to be staring at books all the time, which I remember doing as long ago as I can remember. Hey, maybe we can try teaching him to read. I learned to read in first grade like the rest of my classmates back then. So that would have been the 1970, 1971 school year. So how I was 6 going into that. My birthday's in September. I would have been 6 in 1970. So that's when I started reading. And I took to it quick. I took to it quickly and thoroughly. So I was reading way past grade level by at least third grade, for sure. And, I remember I sat when I was I'm sure it was 7th grade. I was sitting in a classroom and the assistant principal was there, kind of observing that day just at random. And he was sitting right behind me. And he saw that I had a copy of Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut sitting on my desk. And he kind of, while the teacher was talking, he kind of leaned in and tapped the book and kind of whispered to me, "Isn't that a little grown up for you?" And I was like, looked at him like, I don't even know what you mean. Maybe he was right for a 7th grader to be reading Kurt Vonnegut, but I don't know. I think that was a good thing. I feel like the fact that I was really, and I went through a Kurt Vonnegut period. I read Kurt Vonnegut when I was in 7th and 8th grade. So when did I start reading? As soon as someone taught me how to do it, and never ever stopped. Next question: where do you read? Right here. I'm at my desk right now. I actually do a lot of reading here, and not just counting. And when I say reading, I don't count my actual job, which is reading books all day and editing them. Yeah. So when I say I read this book, I'm not counting the books that I have been reading for work, the job that I do. So, but, you will still find me sitting here reading. And then otherwise downstairs on my love seat where I'm all, tucked in and with the music choice, Classical Masterpieces channel playing in the background. We talked about me being old, but I like to have instrumental music in the background while reading or editing and so on. And that's pretty much it, because most of the time I don't leave here. I don't actually go outside. It's extremely rare. I go to the supermarket maybe once or twice a week, and then sometimes we go to the casino, and otherwise I'm here. So where do I read? Really at home. On my exercise bike, when I ride the exercise bike, if the weather doesn't permit a walk. So mostly at home. If I start leaving the house and find someplace else to read, I promise to let you know. What kind of books do you like to read is the second to the last question. I know it sounds like I'm just punting this question, or that everybody kind of just automatically says this in order to sound worldly and smart or whatever. What kind of books do I like to read? Every kind of book. I actually really do read every kind of book. And not accidentally or not, right? But on purpose. I love science fiction and fantasy. Like, I'm wearing a Tyrell Corporation t-shirt. Love. You can see behind me, love. Star Trek. Live long and prosper forever. I'm literally made a career of D&D for a little bit. So, what kind of books do I like to read? Fantasy, science fiction, horror, fiction in general, and then nonfiction across a pretty big spectrum. And if you look at my January 2024 recap video, you'll see the books that I've read, the books I bought. And so what kind of books do I like to read? Anything with compelling writing, a compelling subject matter, something that's just fun as can be, right? These Perry Rodan books back here. Silly stuff is great. Goofy stuff is great. Any kind of pulp fiction is super cool. And all the way through to the entire spectrum to literary fiction, avant-garde fiction, classics, poetry. I read plays. I mean, honestly, everything. And it would be really easy, a lot easier for me to say what kind of books don't I like to read. I'm not a romance reader. That shouldn't come as a surprise to really anybody, let's be honest. And you're not going to find me reading like Christian inspirational stuff. Those are also the two things that I say to prospective clients. Those are the things that I don't really work on at all. You need a fan of a genre, or you need a true believer for those categories. But otherwise, I'm kind of open to anything. And I have read a romance novel, and I've read books that I really, really loved, like Jamie Ford's Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, that could be described as a romance novel. Yeah. So even then, I don't know what kind of books I like to read. I like to read what feels like would be good. All right, then the last one, which I guess is a kind of an optional question. So I'm just going to throw these videos in there. What does your book collection look like? So I took some quick videos. It's going to be a little bit fast zooming around because I got lots of books. That's what I do, right? I buy books. So here they are. I'm just going to sort of throw those videos up there as this ends. That was it, everybody. The Fantasy Author's Handbook, Phil Athens Booktuber Newbie Tag. Here I am. Here I will stay, time permitting. Thanks, everybody.